Hello everyone, and today we're just going to take a quick look at how to draw an abstract painting. Well, painting I say is a sketch really. So I'm going to give you a few pointers to how I actually start the designs, and you can obviously take those on board and perhaps have a go yourself. So I'm just going to be using a Sharpie pen here, which is pretty standard. You can find those in most stationery shops, and a plain piece of paper. I just use copier paper because it's pretty good value, but you can just use sketch paper, anything you fancy. So generally what I do if I'm starting a design, most of the things you've seen are quite complex, but I'm going to start off quite easy. So when I used to teach abstract art, I always used to say to my students, pick a shape you're comfortable with. So I would always tend to suggest either squares or triangles. Squares are very good actually, so obviously you can divide a square into triangles. I tend to avoid things like circles because they're a bit more difficult to draw, and then people worry about getting a straight, a nice, a 360 circle, which is very difficult to do. So I'm going to start off with a square, and then you can see how I actually kind of build it up. And it's a very, not a very straight square. Don't worry about that. And they go across. And the thing with abstract is, especially like squares, you can actually overlap. So in a very simplistic way, I'm just going to build up a design here. Just squares and triangles. That's all it's going to be. And you can see how we can play around with those. Put another square down here. Say triangles and say squares are pretty more rectangles, aren't they really? You can put a triangle in there, we've got a nice little angle there. So always look around the design to see where you can fit in something. Okay, so that gives us a bit of a basic design. So beyond that, we can actually put something else in the background. We could put a larger square. So I'm just going to fill some of this in just so it kind of gives it a bit of depth to it. And it'll just separate the different shapes so you can see them a bit clearer. This is really going to be more of a lesson on how to actually do the composition, to be honest. So don't worry if you've never drawn anything like this before, just go with it. And just take that across there. So at the moment these are kind of separated from each other, but we really kind of want to link everything in. So the central part's kind of linked, but I've made that bit separated there. So what I'm going to do is put something in the background to link the whole thing together. So I'm going to put in a large background square there. And we just take that across. So I'm going to draw that across there, taking it to that. So again, that gives us a bit more of a 3D effect, a bit more depth straight away. I'm not going to worry about filling, we'll see this, but just the composition we're going to need to look at the moment. So that's kind of linked in. We can put something else in the background again. You could put a big triangle going straight through. Imagine it's running from the back there, it's coming right the way out here, and it's going to go there. And again, we could actually lop that into sections as well if you wanted. I would tend not to put too much. I say put that into sections. I'm probably not going to. The reason why is because if I wanted to put that background triangle in half, it's not really going to work. So I've got a diagonal going through here. So diagonal would be about there. It's going to be far too busy. So I tend just to leave that plain, that background one. We can have another one in the background, another bigger triangle where we could probably do something with. So if I put and across, take that one down. Right, so we've got a diagonal here. I'm gonna actually no, I'm gonna take this further down. Yeah, and we're gonna take it across. Yeah, I think that kind of works. So we could split that one up perhaps. So I'm going to split that one, going across that way. I'm going to split it again because I don't want dark and dark. And I can just put that shading on there. So all the time you're kind of looking at the way the thing's progressing here. I'd say if I've got an odd piece out, it's probably that piece there, but it's just the luck of the draw the way it started off. But we could do something with that. It's a bit of an oddball, that bit. I would tend to split that again. I'm not going to make a complete triangle out of that, but just to offset it a little bit because it looked a bit weird. And I can get away with that because I've got this gap here separating it. I've got a gap there separating it and a gap there, so it's not all overlapping. So we're quite kind of happy with that now, really. Nothing's kind of too clashy. So that could be something that you could work on, really. So, you know, we could exaggerate some of these shapes here. This is extremely rough, but it just shows you how things are built up. And we could do the same there, because I've not taken that triangle right to the corner. So there's always ways of kind of cheating if you don't get something right as you want it. Nothing's perfect. Don't ever look for perfection, because you're never going to find it. If you want perfection, do it on a computer. And there we go. So I think a nice contrast with this would be a dark in there. And we could follow that same kind of theme along. So if we just follow that line through there, it's slightly off, but we can pretend that kind of goes up there like that. It's made a bit thicker. And I think we could make this one darker. But you thought I was going to do the other side, didn't you? Doing that side because the line's slightly off. There we go. And what else could we do here? Again, I'd probably do this one here as well. Might do something on this side here because I think we're going to need to do something there. So I've got quite a big area there. So again, you could split that into another triangle if you wanted. Nothing to stop you doing that. You could do something going, actually, that would probably work out quite well. I've got this film little bit here that's not going to work out. If I put a line across there, I'm going to have this really weird bit here. So I'm probably going to take it further down so it's not quite so noticeable. Am I going to do that? It doesn't quite work, actually. No, I'm going to abandon that. I'm going to put a triangle in there. Really, when you're drawing a design, you just kind of want it to be well balanced. I'm going to go across here as well. Again, I'm just going to fill in that bit. Use a bit of imagination there, because obviously these is in black and white, very rough. At the end of it, we'll see what we've ended up with. Okay, it's not too bad. I'm going to put something here actually just to break it off. It's kind of what a common kind of theme. So at the moment, these triangles in the corners becoming a bit of a theme. We could do the same there actually if you look at it, although I've done it in this stripy thing. We could do that. So there we go. So that's not too bad. I'm very happy with that. Yeah, so that could be the basis for a design. If I had to do it again, if I probably fine tune something like that, I would probably get rid of that bit because that doesn't really kind of fit in. So I'd probably try to keep the squares nice and 90 degrees to each other, and the triangles as well. But everyone's different. So there we go. So that was just a basis how you could start off with squares and triangles. So yeah, that gives you a bit of a rough idea what you can play around with. If you looked at the other video beforehand, you could actually go and see how you can actually start to shade in things. So just quickly going back to that, I've got just a mechanical pen here. But then you could see how you can build in different shapes, different shades rather. So if we take, let's look for a particular piece here. Say from there, for example. So you've got a nice dark bit on that corner, so you can take it across. This isn't a particularly good example actually doing this with this kind of pencil, and then you can get it lighter and lighter and lighter. This is extremely rough, but you kind of get the idea. And the same thing you could do with some of these shapes here as well. You could start off quite dark and you could go lighter. Instead of doing it that way, this is quite normally I would kind of go like that, but to be honest, because it's quite a long line, I'm going to start to go that way. So I'm going to press hard this end and then release the pressure as we get across and just kind of build it up. So there we go. So as we get towards that end, and we could do another one there. In an ideal world, you're probably going to have something to put under your hand here to actually stop it bleeding. So you're going to pick up some of the graphite otherwise, or even the pen. You don't want to do that. Don't worry, if you're ever doing shading, don't worry too much about these bits, the blending bits. Go for the darker bits, concentrate on those, because those are the bits that the eye's going to pick up on first. Where it actually goes away into kind of a lighter colour, people don't really see that, to be honest. There you go. So that's just a very, very rough idea how I might start a composition. And you could do something very similar, actually, just with squares and triangles. So I hope that gives you a bit of a pointer and something perhaps to have a little think about. So thanks a lot for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.